And welcome in, everyone. My name is DJ Lewis Love, and I'm here with Rave United. We're trying to do this thing, interviewing the DJs, and have a special guest as we reignite this thing here. I got DJ Theo. What's up, man?
Hey, Lewis, how's it going, man?
Pretty good, man. So this is you're a guy that we were friends for a very, very long time, ever since the 90s and
Yes.
stuff like that. And it's amazing to reconnect with you. I believe the first time I saw you after a large gap was EDC, correct?
Either that or at Ron's store when you did the Lovecore reunion thing. I think I was there, and I remember seeing you there.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains it. 'Cause I was like, how does this guy recognize me, man? I've gained so much weight.
I kind of followed up, because I've been close to Ron forever. So, hey, whatever happened to Lewis? And he told me that you were doing kind of like um, Marvel, DC kind of almost like
Yeah,
TMZ kind of style.
not
Yeah.
as bad, but
Right.
well, actually, TMZ, they're actually good at what they do. They
Right.
could be, they're just giving the audience what they want, but to tell you the truth, but man, it is awesome. And so I want to ask you a few questions as
Sure.
you know, we are here, and I think the nostalgia trip has hit a fever pitch, or I don't even know if it's always been there and stuff, because there was a gap. I did stop DJing in 99, and I started, I got back into 2010-ish and stuff like that. Theo, what have you been up to, man? Now I know, was there ever a gap? Was there ever a
No.
time where you stopped? You just
No.
kept going.
No, I never stopped.
Man.
I moved to Hawaii for a year, and the pandemic stopped everyone. Yeah, but I never stopped DJing. Pretty much since I started, when I was like 12, 13. But when I first started DJing raves, I was 92 and I was 18. And yeah, I have not stopped since.
92 is when I met you.
Yeah, you were working at
DMC.
DMC. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I would come in pretty much every weekend and pick up records, sell mixtapes, just hang out on Melrose because that was what you did back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I was able to kind of live off the DJing from 2000 to 2004. And then, the scene fluctuates, things happen. There's good years, there's bad years. And I actually went to Plan B and focused on my IT career and still doing that. So the DJing isn't, my main source of income. Is kind of like a side hustle kind of thing. But mainly I do IT management.
That's smart, and I think it's a good lesson to learn as a DJ, is that, maybe that's your first passion, but always have a couple plan B, C, D, E,
Yeah,
F, just have
absolutely.
other things to fall back on, because equipment's not cheap, and stuff.
Life
Nor
isn't cheap. So
no, nothing. I mean, well, especially if you pick this hobby where the records are like, when I started, they were $4.99, and now they're like, what, $30? I'm not
yeah,
even
that's crazy.
sure. And then they update the equipment every like 4 years to like get you on the same stuff that was already available in the previous model. But that's a different conversation.
True.
I love that, man. And what I love Melrose, and I really miss that. I felt it was one of the greatest times of my life. I always remember you there, going in there and always being one of the nice guys. And I'm really glad that it seems like right now you're top tier in the scene. What's your fondest memory of Melrose? Just hanging out? Is there a particular thing? Why do you think Melrose was so
I mean,
special?
there's a time and place, right?
Yeah.
I think the scene at that time revolved around Melrose and it revolved around the record stores.
Mhm.
It's where it was a gathering spot. DJs would come and get records. Ravers would go buy their tickets or pick up flyers, and so yeah, it was kind of a scene, and especially before the internet, before it was like where would you get this information, right? Where would you find out about the parties? Where would you? That's how I found out.
Mhm.
I started buying. I was DJing, so I was buying records on Melrose, and I hadn't even gone to my first rave yet. And I remember we bought a bunch of records at DMC, and me and my friends went to my garage. I was living in West Covina at the time, and playing the records, and we got a bunch of flyers at DMC, and we're like, let's go to a rave tonight. Why not?
Yeah,
And that was in February of '92, and I ended up at La Casa for the Messiah show. And that's
yeah.
the first time I heard DJ Dan and Ron Decor.
Interesting. I believe I met Messiah. There is no law, correct?
Yeah.
That for that particular time, and they walked into the store. I gotta be honest, man. I've met so many old school producers back in the day that this Praga Khan walked in there, Digital Boy, if you guys remember those
Oh yeah.
those people and everything. And I'm just curious because back then I remember those raves have more thousands upon thousands of people, not as big as what we see with the festivals,
Right.
obviously, but where are those people right now? I kind of have an idea, but I don't want
I
to
mean,
accept the truth that
uh,
maybe people got married and moved on. But where
well,
are they?
absolutely, people got married and moved on.
Damn
I
it!
mean, these are, these people are in their 50s now, right?
Yeah,
So they have kids in college. They have kids going to raves. You talk to, Jason Blakemore, DJ Trans, and his daughter is in her 20s and is going to the same parties that he used to DJ at. So, yeah, Ron Decor's kid just turned 16, right?
yeah,
So, it's going to be soon where he's going to go out to, festivals and stuff like that. So, yeah. Yeah, but the people who are there's I mean are people who were going out at that time that are still going out.
yeah.
Absolutely. If you go to like Sub Level or some of Doc Martin's parties or even like the Campo G stuff or there's a lot of older heads who are still participating, still doing their thing. But yeah, life moves on. I don't The way I look at it, Lewis, is that I feel lucky to even be a part of it, to be honest, because it really isn't my scene anymore. I'm not 21, I'm 52, so it's like, the fact that I can still participate and still enjoy it and have a good time with it, I feel blessed. I never thought I would still be doing this at my age when I was, in my 20s.
Well, okay, but is there a little bit of that you could still come? I know you're like so humble and so nice. You may not even touch on this. Is there a little bit?
Mm.
There is with me. I will admit that I do feel like I could go toe to toe with the 20-year-old DJs. I'm not better than them, but I feel like I'm among them. I feel like you're among them, right? I mean,
I mean, skills are
yeah,
skills, right?
right,
I think if we're talking about, but there's different skills now. Like the people who are popular as DJs now are doing things that I don't want to do, like the social media stuff,
yeah,
like the constant reels, the constant engagement. That's part of this game now that I'm not super comfortable in doing it. I mean, I do what I feel is good for me. It's like, I'll go and do a reel and talk about things and, but I'm not super engaged in social media in that way to constantly be pushing out my DJing. And that's what the name of the game is these days, is that's what you have to do. So
yeah.
the skill set is different. The skill set when I was coming up is, passing out mixtapes, getting networking, getting to know people, and now it's, how many followers do you have? How much engagement do you have? So yeah, it's different. And the people who are throwing parties now aren't the same people that were throwing parties back, 30 years ago, except, for Pasquale, right?
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of these kids are have a respect for the old school, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm still getting booked regularly, is because there's this kind of respect for legacy or old school DJs or whatever, or however you want to say it.
Yeah.
um but at the same time, I realize this is not my scene, this is their scene, and I'm an invited guest, and I'm cool with that.
That's like I said, man. That's like the nicest response deal. I do agree with you, and stuff, but I still feel like I feel part
I
of
mean,
it.
if I like the way I look at it is I feel I can still hold my own, of course, or else I
Well, I
probably
know
wouldn't
you
work.
can. I've seen you DJ. Yeah, yeah.
But
Literally, you could. Let's just put it this way: you could hold a little bit more, much more than your own.
but you look at people like Carl Cox or
Amazing.
large older school old legacy DJs, and he's still popular, at 62 or 63, however old he is, and that's awesome. I respect the hell of that out of that. The fact that he can maintain this legacy and still DJ and be who he is at that age is awesome, and it's something to aspire. But I looked at myself as LA is a great market, and I'm very fortunate to be an LA DJ, and I'm glad to, if honestly, Lewis, if it ended today, if I had no more gigs after, our conversation, who am I to complain? I've done everything I've wanted to. I've DJ'd all the big parties. I've had a great time. I've met, most of my friends. I've met my wife through the scene.
Oh,
The
that's nice.
scene has given me more than I could ever give back to the scene. Period.
Dang, bro. Maybe your name should have been DJ Plur. That's still awesome. Theo, by the way, how did you get your name?
So Theo is a nickname. My real name's Jacob, and
Yeah.
my nickname I got in high school because I have chubby cheeks, so they used to call me Theodore from the Chipmunks. So that was the reason why. And the reason I spelled it THEE-O is because my last name ends with an O. So it's kind of a play on that. So yeah, Theo.
And just so you all know that are watching this, I knew that, but I've known that I wasn't gonna correct you, but I that's exactly the story that is the
Yeah.
story that the way it happened. I know a lot of DJs are changing their names of the origins of their names. Just so you all know, I am not Lewis Love Bump. I was supposed to DJ here. I'll give you this is not my interview, but just so you are, if you're
Yeah.
curious, I got a gig at Mars FM and I needed a DJ name and I didn't want to use my own name for some weird reason. I should have, but I was looking through the record store, like, what do I use? And I love Majorca. I love Lewis Love Bump. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna shorten it out, and here I am. So if you're confused, I did not make Majorca. It's a great track though.
It is a great track. Yes,
Which I don't
absolutely.
even think that sample is original. I think that sample is actually from Carl Cox's record, which is
Could could
crazy.
be. Yeah.
Good game. Everything's like I discovered so many samples lately. But Theo, has the game really changed? Because
Absolutely.
really, because I do see, as far as DJing is concerned, because a lot of DJs, they're like, hey man, like there's this person's popular, the promoter doesn't like this person or whatever. And I heard the same stuff going on um back in the day, like
Well,
promoters problems, DJ problems, crew.
yes. I
Yeah.
mean, all of that stays the same. The drama, the
Yeah.
DJ drama, the promoter drama, the politics. That stays the same. The methods change. Because technology changes. Like, when I first started DJing, I was, playing mixtapes over voicemails and telling people, hey, book me, right? Now that same thing would be, an email or a DM or, whatever. Um, but yeah, the game, you know, put it this way, Lewis, if I had to start all over, if I was like, you know, 20 years younger, 30 years younger, and I was like, I want to become a rave DJ or a club DJ, could I do what these kids are doing right now? The constant social media stuff, the um, constant reels, and none of that honestly appeals to me. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe that's because I'm 52 and not 22. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would do this all over again. I'm glad I did it when I did, and I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm still doing it. But yeah, if I had to start over, I don't know if I'd want to, do all the things that you have to do in order to become a successful DJ these days.
Interesting. What is your fondest gig? Like, is there one that stands out? Like, or it doesn't even have to be some place where a million people showed up. It could be 50 people, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes those parties are actually better, honestly.
Well,
But
absolutely.
but
Um,
what is your like moment that like man that moment was just the moment?
there's you know, I think Dune out in 1996 for
Mhm.
me. Even though Dune I think 99 was the one that everyone like talks about, but Dune 96 for me was very special because of just the environment. I played the Sunrise set, and um, I, the first track I played, I remember playing Robert Miles' Children before it became popular, before people know what it was. And the when I played that track for the first time, um, and that sunrise happened, and it was just like one of those moments you're like, damn, or the music and the setting and just the people, everything just kind of became a moment, you know.
That's awesome, man. Did you get a chance to travel like Europe or anything like
Yes,
that?
not
Okay.
mainly the States. So I traveled all over the States, especially like in mid 90s to the mid 2000s. But yeah, and I still travel here and there. Like I just got
No Europe.
asked to go to Chicago. Nah, I was never really, I never really pursued that, and
Mm.
I don't know why. It was never. I was really focused on LA, of course, but then also you know traveling around the states and trying. I was going to Hawaii a lot. And then I ended up living there for a bit. So yeah, no, I never really had the. I don't like long flights either, so I'm not like
That's my
ready
problem,
to just
dude.
hop on a. Yeah, I don't want. I'm not
No,
into that,
it just
especially now.
well, I mean, it's probably, it's like Superman said, statistically speaking, it's the safest way to go, but it's like it's still the not being in control type of
Yeah,
thing, right?
I feel you there. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's like I could drive a car and if I get hit, I could kind of steer it, I think. Um
Right.
out of the way. That's awesome. If you don't mind me asking, the gear
Sure.
change between the SL1200s, which I'm really frustrated with because I feel like it took 30 years to not even get rid of the 1200s, are still around, but to update. And with the CDJs, it's like every 4 years, it's like, hey man, you need this like $2,000 piece of gear that pretty much does what the other one did. It's not really going to help your DJing, in my opinion. Maybe you think different, but I do love CDJs. I'm not gonna lie, I do love them. But I love 1200s as well. What is your opinions on the gear evolution, and what are you using nowadays?
Um, I wasn't like a really early adopter, but once things started moving around 2005, 2006 over to CDJs, I started packing CDs because I was getting CDs through my record pool, so as promos. So
Oh,
I started, playing with them more, doing both vinyl and CDs. But then around 2011, when things moved basically to USB, and you're able to link the CDJs and have one USB and be able to play it over both. To me, that changed the game. I was like, oh, this is super convenient, this is super easy. And so as much as I love vinyl and I have tons of it, and I buy probably more vinyl now than I even when I was DJing. I love vinyl. Just for practicality reasons, I like um, DJing with USBs, but I treat it just like I treat vinyl. I kind of I go in, I do my thing, I shuffle around, I find, you know, I kind of treat going through my playlist kind of like, going through my crates, right?
hmm.
Like I'll just pull up something I don't even know what it is, and I'll see if it works. And so, yeah, I treat my even though I could dial everything in and have everything mapped out and all the hot cues and do all that stuff, I really focus on treating it like how I would play vinyl.
Right. I can't get to that point. I feel like with the records, we used to like look at the cover, fall in love with the cover, look at the back, read the back, look at the artwork, look at the, all the grooves and everything. Oh, look at the little puppy. They're
Yes,
Asian, by the way.
this is Olive, and
Oh,
she wants to be in every.
what kind of dog is that?
She's an Australian Shepherd. We've
Nice.
had her for about 5 months. We adopted her.
Beautiful. We have an adopted baby too. She's the best. But I feel like I could never get familiarized with the songs, right? Back in the day,
Right.
it's like, you cannot, like, nowadays, if you ask me a name of a track, I'm like, I don't know what the hell it is, and it could be the first thing I always play in my show, because I just used to get so used to the artwork of the vinyl,
Right.
it was so, and you actually own it, which is great. My thing is, look, I couldn't afford it back then.
Right.
Like it got to the point where it got priced out, and everything. Was there ever a time you were at a gig and you were before or after on the same stage or booth with a DJ you really looked up to and go, wow, that's them? Is there someone like that for you?
For when I first started, yeah, of course, Dan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
DJ Dan.
Yeah, Dan to me kind of was like the standard of rave DJing back in the early 90s. And when I first got to, meet him and talk with him and get to know him, and, my first gig in March of 92, I opened up the party and he was on after me. And so having that as, my first experience is, kind of opening for DJ Dan. To me, he was like that, especially when I was 18. I was coming into the scene, and I was intimidated by it, like Rondi Core and stuff like that.
We
I was like,
we're all intimidated by them. Yeah, that's not.
and then you realize that really Ron's just kind of a dork, and I mean, and I love Ron, and he and I have known each other for years. But he's not as intimidating as I've made him out to be when I was 18 years old,
And we'll go back to Dan because Dan is really legacy of the rave culture here in LA, and probably more than that. I just never traveled, so I couldn't experience that. But Rondi Core, he did an interview the other day, and I was intimidated by him. Back in the day, he allowed me to be, or just goes, hey man, let's do love core, whatever. I'm like, well, this guy is like amazing. Why would he want me on the other side of the tape? Whatever. He did an interview the other day, and he told the guy, he goes, I used to play hard acid, but Louis Love inspired me to do hardcore. I was like, what? He thinks I know that. And I was like, okay, so it's weird in a way. We don't think of it, of course, because we're in our own skin, but we do set an impression on people as a DJ, and that's just weird to me all the time because like I've said before, I'm a raver first. I'm just a guy dancing, and then DJ second or third. Obviously father and everything first, but
right.
Before that, but yeah, and it's crazy, yeah, man. Back to DJ Dan. I just want everyone who's listening to this, like, I want to say that, listen, when Dan brought the first mixtape, do you remember the name of it? The one with Ronnie Core?
The times two?
Yeah. People did not know what was going on, man. The best of the best DJs would look at that tape and listen to it and go, what the hell? This guy is on 6 turntables. Like, what? Things we'd never heard before. It was scratching. Yeah. It was like some weird, I don't know what the hell was going on, but it was some weird thing where, like, it sounded like he was using samples, and none of that stuff was available really back then. And it was
D times 2 changed. Before that mixtape, there was Milky Way mixtapes, right? That you could go and buy at the raves, and they were cool, but they were just kind of have these stickers on there. And this was the first time there was actual printing. It looked professional. And so when I got D times 2, I was like, oh man, this changed the game. And I, like the openings for those both sides, for both Ron and Dan, were kind of tracks that they made with Expando.
I remember Expanse.
So yeah, so they really, took the mixtape to a different level, and I really, because of that, was like I wanted to do more and more mixtapes. And
Right.
yeah, the way I love mixtapes because the one thing that was great about mixtapes is that you didn't have to think about a crowd. You weren't having to create a set for people to dance to. You're creating a set for people to enjoy in their car or um, whatever. And I think that was a turning point, because then for me, I could buy records that I didn't really, it didn't matter that it was for the dance floor or not. It was just something I liked listening to and
Yeah.
enjoyed. And that's why I started getting into, Octecker and Aphex Twin and Black Dog Productions and stuff I couldn't really play on a traditional rave dance floor, but I could make these mixtapes and like play this music out and create something out of it that I couldn't necessarily do at a party.
I remember those tapes. I remember Aphex Twin. Like to me, you introduced that to me in a way. Even though I worked at a record store, there was a lot of there were many things I overlooked because on Wednesday we get the shipment and we get a stack of like 100 records, and ultimately DMC, all of them are a business because they have to pay rent. So we like price them, put them away and everything. And by the time, they were put out, I was already the end of my shift.
Right,
And then,
right. Well, and then there was so much music coming out at the time
oh yeah,
that it would be, if you're just focused on the stuff you would play out, um, then thank you, Olive. Thank you.
oh
Then,
yeah,
you're going to miss out on a lot of other things because you're focusing on what you want to play for that weekend, right?
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think especially because Mars FM and all the record stores and all these DJs and all these genres splintering off at that time, it was kind of like we were all influencing each other. I would listen to your tapes and Ron's tapes, and everyone was doing their own thing, and that's we're all trying, I guess, in some way influencing each other. I remember one thing specifically. I remember going into DMC, and you told me that you couldn't listen to my tapes anymore. And I said, "Why?" She's like, "Because they're too." It's like I end up speeding in my car. I'm going to get a ticket. And I'm like, and I said, I mean, I played fast back then, but now I
It wasn't about
couldn't
the
play that
speed,
fast.
brother. I gotta add to that. It was about the sense of adventure, the
Oh
sense of
yeah,
like, going through light speed, like the Millennium Falcon, the energy uh, of the stuff, right?
oh,
So
absolutely.
it's weird though because back then we could play a techno track and right after a trance track and then a house track and then a
Yep.
breaks track, and it was all techno or it was all
Right.
underground or whatever you want to call it. Now it's like, well, is he gonna DJ hard house set or is he gonna like, dude? Like, I don't know. The labels are crazy, right? The
Right.
genre labels. It's like one a week nowadays.
Yeah. That's why I don't even pay attention to genres anymore. I just play what I feel, what I enjoy, and because genres to me are just kind of like placeholders. They're it's a DJ's job is to at least in my opinion, is to be a tastemaker, is
Yeah,
to try and give you things you may not necessarily think you would enjoy. There's DJs out there who play, you know, everyone's favorite tracks, and I get that. That's a way to do this. Um, but I think sometimes when and it's funny because I was just listening to a podcast of Frankie Bones interviewing DJ Dan, and
really.
he was talking about, and he was talking about the DJ's DJ, and are those that take those chances, that are take those left turns, that will play something that wouldn't necessarily be the most popular or the best thing to play at that particular time. And so I like that part of this adventure of DJing. Is like there's times where I'm like, I don't know if I should play this, but let's just try it anyway.
Yeah.
And that's fun. That to me is like, and if you clear a floor, you build it back up. And if it goes off, then you're like, wow, okay, I didn't expect that. So no, I
That's
think DJing should be fun. It should be adventurous. It should be,
innovative,
trying
right?
something new. Yeah.
Yeah. Innovation, I do feel, is a little bit missing because we get these. And look, back in the day, there were DJs and producers. That's not a secret. You guys probably heard this before, but not necessarily both, both were the one person, right? Like
Right.
DJs back then were DJs, and once in a while, like our dream was to make a track here and there.
Right.
And producers usually hated um, DJing back then.
Well, a lot of the producers back then weren't very good DJs, and a lot of the DJs weren't very good producers. So it's kind of
No,
like everyone had their lane.
there is a little bit of an advantage if you know how to DJ a little bit as a producer, because at least you know that, hey man, the DJ needs a little bit of an intro.
Well, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you need to make your tracks a little bit. But I tell everybody the most important thing out of DJing and producing, in my opinion, is hit the dance floor, dance, go and
Right.
feel the music, because a lot of them don't do that. I don't feel they do.
Right.
Real quick, are you good with time? Are you good?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Just moving because my dog is a Velcro dog, and
Oh,
she
they
was
know
all
you.
over me.
Yes, they love. Oh, I didn't ask you what gear are you using
Oh yeah.
right now in the studio.
So that's
Oh,
my
that's
setup
nice
right
setup.
now. It's
Nice
the
setup.
Pioneer DJ or XDJ, and I have the 1200 set up with it.
Nice, man. You got the
So I
little.
can do digital, can do vinyl, can do whatever.
That's a beautiful. You got to help me with my studio, man. Mine's a mess. Theo, now listen. This is being recorded late April.
Sure.
It's gonna be up pretty soon. You've been organizing something. Look, if you can't
Yes.
talk about it
No,
right
we can
now,
talk about it. Yeah, it's
okay,
no problem.
because I don't know much about it, and I'm excited. I'm kind of like I'm part of it, but I'm on in the ride,
Well,
and I
you're
love
actually
that.
you're part of it. Absolutely.
Oh, I know, but I'm,
Um,
I'm in the ride too, because I don't like to ask too many questions, because I don't like to like I don't like to ask for too much. That's just me. I don't want to be
no, I
bugging,
feel you.
but I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited. It's a dream because it's nostalgic, but it's also gonna be good. Even if you don't have to be from the '90s era to enjoy
No.
what's gonna happen. But what is gonna happen? What are we
So,
talking?
um, everyone, EDC is happening in a few weeks, and I've been talking with Pasquale for a while about some ideas, and he wants to incorporate, kind of the old school with the new school. He's kind of feeling that the festivals and have become more concerts, and he misses that rave,
Mhm.
environment. And so we were been talking about doing an event basically inside of EDC. He's done this before. In 2019, I played it in this kind of secret room at EDC. And so we're doing something similar. He's calling it Insomniac Fridays to memorialize basically the fact that how he started was Insomniac After Hours Fridays, right? That. So we focused on was trying to find DJs who were there back in the 90s and are still doing stuff and are still active and are still pushing it. We understand that people have, come and go from the scene, like, have kids, focus on the career or whatever. But, if you find your way back into the scene, such as like you have, then, we want to provide that opportunity for people to, play on this kind of a festival and this kind of, stage. And I think it's, Pasquale doesn't need to do this. There's
No,
no real reason for him to do this other than the fact that he loves this. And he and I were talking the other day about how we just never stopped. It was just, we just continued on, and we just, and to see what Insomniac and his efforts have turned into, It's crazy. It's crazy to think, that, we were all these, 20-year-olds who are breaking into warehouses and, throwing parties, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like, you know, 300,000 people in the middle of Vegas, just it's crazy. It's crazy to think how this has grown. I remember walking into EDC one year, and I was just taken aback by just um,
Size.
just the
Yeah.
spectacle of it all. And I was just like, wow.
There's a lot
Yeah.
that the new generation, I think, because I go out there and I dance to my James Hype, whatever, man. I mean, I know people are probably, listen, these DJs that are out now, they're really good. They're really good.
Well,
But
even if they're not, the way,
yeah,
if the way I look at it is, I had this epiphany, and I think it was EDC 2019 or 2020 or something like that. And I was at the main stage, and um, I was I didn't like the music at all. But I, everyone else around me was having the time of their lives, right? And so I was thinking to myself, who am I to say this is good or bad, right? I mean, I may not prefer it. I may want something a bit more deeper and underground, and but who am I to say that this isn't these people are obviously enjoying it. They're having the times of their lives. Go have a good time.
yeah.
That's it's and that's when I said, this isn't my scene anymore. It's because of things like that. Because it's you can't be 52 and still have the same frame of reference when you were 18, right? As things change. The things I liked at 18 aren't the same things I like at 52, right?
Well,
And
I'm gonna tell you something though,
sure,
real quick. Is I a little bit disagree
sure,
because when I first started going out after I
mhm,
graduated from high school, I was into Black Box, Strike It Up, which was played
yeah,
on the radio. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Frankie Bones, Dangerous on the Dance Floor, Mr. and Bones, big inner city, big fun. And I went to a club. I was going to clubs weekly, and that was my gateway to house. Right, I started seeing
yeah,
house, and then they play hip hop, new
right.
wave, whatever. And one DJ dropped a track. All of a sudden, like I was like, "What's going on here?" Music maestro, please, Anastasia. And I turn on I saw everybody just throw their hands up in the air. And I turned to all my friends and I go, what the hell is this?
Mhm,
What the hell is this? We need more of it. And I went and researched, and then we started raving. Now, I
right.
do believe a lot of the music at the big festivals is commercialized, you could say. A lot of people will say that, and sometimes people will say it's cheesy, it's radio, whatever, but that gets the people in. And
Right.
then you hear the 909 kick, the 909 kick, and then they go, there's more to it. There's DJ Theo. What the hell? That's
But
awesome. Yeah, I'm a Theo fan.
but the thing about the thing about that situation, what you just described,
Yeah.
when you were, just out of high school,
Yes.
you can't experience that ever again,
No, I
right?
can't.
You can't experience that as a 50-year-old, because that was new and that was fresh and that was exciting and you were young. So that's my point. It isn't the fact that we can't enjoy it, and nostalgia is a big part of that as well. Of course you can enjoy it, but you can't experience that as an 18-year-old, as a young kid, the
No.
way you just can't.
But I'm
And
not
so, but
mad that there is. I think there is a
no,
place for the commercial stuff, and then they could go and research and say, "Hey, there is Carl Cox. Which is a little bit more. And you go deeper."
no,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, and I agree with you. I think that what the festivals should be doing is providing a gateway to people who, if they only do festivals, cool. But if they want to learn more about the music and find different artists and go deeper into the underground, that there's this gateway from festivals to kind of the underground scene.
Right. That's 100%, and it's 100% important. I can tell you right now, this is just my opinion. Pasquale is on it. This guy, I've spoken to him also. He's a guy who always responds to your phone calls, and I don't even know how he does it because he's running this major thing, and he does love the raves. He does. That's where it comes from, and
He'll tell you right now. I'm at first. The first thing is I'm a raver.
he is.
Yeah.
I just saw when they did the
When they
EDC
did the
music through
lineup.
music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the music through music. I was actually on video there and at a record store they made, and he's a fan. So
Yeah.
I think it's silly not to think that, but it's up to the fans. You know, you guys got to show. You guys watching this, if you want that, I see you online, keyboard warrioring. You know, get Theo, get RAW, or whoever's going to be. When the chance comes, you all have to show up. This is the internet's fake, man. Showing up is real. You gotta show up in person and support. Because Theo, you said that if this is something, this event at EDC, it could be a continuing thing, right?
No, I think the
Yeah.
festival has bigger plans. I think there's stuff he wants to do to help build legacy, especially for artists who have been doing this a long time. So, I think there's a way for that he could, that Insomniac has, multiple brands. They have the Dream State thing, they have the Skyline, they have all these brands, right? And so I think there is a place for there to be this old school kind of brand that coexists with everything. And so he and I are continuously talking about,
Good.
this. I think the EDC thing, the Insomniac Fridays thing, is kind of the first step into seeing what else we could do. I talked to him yesterday about I want to record everyone's set and then release them as mixtapes,
Oh
as limited
no.
edition mixtapes. And
I gotta go practice, ladies and gentlemen. It was nice seeing you. These guys are gonna be too good. Mine's gonna be the worst mix, man. Now you can put me on the spot. I like that idea though.
and he was all for it. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's I think this allows him to have fun with it, kind of bring it back to the roots, and get people involved who necessarily aren't as involved as because of responsibilities and everything else in life, right? So I'm very happy to help him with this, and I'm hoping that this is the start of something. So
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome, especially the response you've gotten. But I mean, response on the internet, that's great.
Right, exactly. Right.
Show up. Now I know people already got their tickets for EDC, but look, I'm going to tell you my opinion. If you're watching, you go to EDC, you go to all the festivals, awesome. But what I think that's missing from a lot of the DJs that you will get at this event is the spontaneous mixes where you like there's some. I think a lot of people are missing out on that, where you don't know what you're gonna get. One day,
Right.
One DJ will show up. Carl Cox does this. I'll go to every single Carl Cox set. Why? Because I don't know what he has in store. It's a roller coaster. He has new tracks, he has old school, he has this style, that style, and he always makes it exciting. I feel like some other DJs, as a raver, I'm talking, you hear them once, you kind of heard them already, over and over again. It's just not for me. People do like that. Theo, listen, let's wrap up here real quick.
Sure.
Because 45 minutes, you've been very generous. I
Oh,
pitched
no
it
problem.
as 10 minutes, and it's 45 minutes right now. And I believe you're charging me per minute, so I'm. But is there anything you want to add here that I missed out? Because I am so happy to reconnect with you and talk to you like this, but maybe I forgot to ask you something that you're excited about or you want to speak of. Anything?
The whole EDC thing is an opportunity for all of us to kind of get together, and I'm looking forward to it becoming kind of a rave reunion of sorts and being able to connect with people. And unfortunately, with the passings of both Reza and actually Reza Taylor and DJ Dan, I've been able to connect with people at these memorials and these celebrations of life and see people I haven't seen in 15 to 25 years, which has been nice. But it's unfortunate that it's because of tragedy and death that we're reconnecting. So I'm looking forward to having this celebration at EDC to be a place where we could come together and, reminisce and see faces we haven't seen in years. And I'm hoping that becomes more of a thing where I see these people and not at, funerals, basically.
That's very, very important because I find myself wishing I would have gone to more Dan gigs. And that's,
Yeah.
you never know. And so now is the time to check everyone out. You don't know what life has in store.
Yeah.
Both of these guys, Dan, Reza, very young. Not I would say if you ask a doctor if someone in their 50s could do a marathon, I've done this. They say that's their prime.
Yeah.
They were taken away too soon and stuff. Theo, are we going to hear anything like an announcement at EDC with the EDC officially, or is it something?
Yeah, there will be flyers, kind of that will be. So there will be an announcement that will showcase the full lineup and all that. Pasquale has some things that are happening at the party, so because it isn't it's not an official EDC stage in some way. It's kind of like the rave in the rave. So there's going to be kind of an old school, unique way of finding out more information about the party. So if you're at EDC, just look around. There will be something.
Yeah, just don't make me drive the Melrose and get a ticket and then go to
like
Map Point. So Map Point hints right there.
Yes,
and everything, because people are asking me, is there going to be an announcement on their official site or is it there and stuff like that? So
yeah, a little bit there'll be some stuff announced for sure.
Excellent. So this is Theo, DJ Theo, DJ THEE-O.com. Check out his website. You got a Dancing for Dan event coming in here very soon.
This Friday at Santa Barbara. Yeah.
Santa Barbara, which is near you. You could check out some of his blog. He also has a YouTube channel. I saw that. A gallery. What is this about? Let's invade him. All right. We got a photo gallery right here. Theo rocking the house. In case you didn't believe me that he's awesome. There you go. There you got Theo rocking. Look at all this, man. This is when nice guys make it. Okay. Stop complaining about so-called bad guys making it. Support Theo here, man. Proof nice guys can make it. What's wrong with you all? We got some tracks he's worked on, his contact information for bookings and everything. Future
get
events.
In touch.
Yeah, just do that. Theo, I want to thank you here for being here, and subscribe to Rave United on all the platforms, YouTube, wherever, I don't know, wherever food's sold, we're there. Thank you. Well, stay on, brother.